Good morning, afternoon, and evening, CS Nation. I am Harry Mullen, your host, with my co-host Pernell Husband. How you doing today, Pernell?
Doing very well, Harry. How are you?
I am two thumbs up today. Little
Awesome.
switch up there. So, first of all, before we get started with today's show, I just wanted to remind everybody that you can see us on our YouTube station, Central Sterilization Solutions. Be sure to like and subscribe. And you'll also see our podcasts in various modes, whether it's Apple Podcasts and such. And you'll find us on CSS Nation on Facebook. So again, I just wanted to welcome you all. Today, we're going to be in preparation of in a very important week in October, CS week. Pernell, I came across an article, Infection Control Today, not too long ago, and it talks about celebrate the critical role of the sterile processing profession in infection prevention. And, I always tell my students, we are the true infection preventionists. And so I figured, I was reading through the article and I'm like, very interesting. And then the fact that it says celebrate, I'm like, you know what? We've got plenty of time before October comes. Let's get the word out now and let's get managers and leaders to start thinking about how they're appreciating their staff, not just during CS week. So when it comes to celebrating our critical role and thinking about celebrating in October, what are your thoughts about that, Pernell?
Well, I'm familiar with the article that you mentioned, H. It's a really thoughtful one. And I want to commend our infection prevention colleagues and the writer of that article for taking such a poignant view of sterile processing. Yes, we have 1 week set aside in which we celebrate CS and CS professionals. But I think I'm with you, Harry. We should celebrate them day in and day out. They are some of the hardest working people in the hospital. They have a very challenging job. And yes, I agree they should be singled out as often as possible for their contributions to the healthcare facility.
Absolutely. As a matter of fact, talking about such an integral part of the job, the article, which was written by Julie Williamson last month in July, but she goes in part in saying that infection preventionists are an integral members of the extended sterile processing department team and can be among the department's biggest supporters. The second Sunday of every October marks the first day of Sterile Processing Week, running this year from October 10th through 16th. And in this case, every year, well-planned, meaningful, and memorable events should be properly celebrate the vital contributions of our nation's quality-focused professionals in the sterile processing field who promote patient safety and positive patient outcomes. Part of the problem, I think, is it's not just that, the general public doesn't know who sterile processing is. Oftentimes, it seems like the senior leadership doesn't know who sterile processing is unless something goes wrong.
Very true. If you're a COO, if you're a CEO, hell, if you're a director of surgery, and you've not been down for a tour or for an in-depth visit of your CS department, shame on you. The work that goes on in CS, as we all know, is critical, and it has an impact on direct patient outcomes. This is a complex, lots of moving parts in this department, and lots of risks. The The hardworking folks in CS, again, need to be commended. They need to be singled out, and they need to be appreciated by their leaders, including the C-suite.
Yeah, I know that in our industry we have two main associations that certify our technicians. You have CBSPD, but with my involvement with ISHM, which is the International Association of Healthcare Central Service Materials Management, which name will be changed come January 1st to Healthcare Central or Sterile Processing Association. I'm liking that. Makes it a little bit easier. But I know that they have a view that sterile processing professionals are crucial contributors to patient care. Unlike our frontline caregivers, they're behind the scenes, and I know that the association feels that some facilities don't give their members of the sterile processing department the acknowledgement and the appreciation that they do deserve. So facility executives may not be aware of sterile processing week because the perhaps sterile processing leader hasn't taken the time to inform them, or perhaps the leadership has never taken the time to meet with those in the C-suite to help explain the difficult and crucial processes that take place within the main walls of the sterile processing department, and how those processes actually affect the patient outcome. I think what it is it's not just the C-suite people, Pernell. I think it is our leadership in sterile processing that they get so bogged down in the day-to-day things that they're doing and running the department, that they forget to shout on the rooftops the successes that the department does have and bring attention to our critical department.
I think a lot of managers are like, you know what, we're good. I don't need nobody coming down here thanking me, this or that. Leave us alone. Let us do our work. And I get that. But remember, leadership requires us to acknowledge people who are under us and to lift them up and to recognize them. And every opportunity that we can, we should take advantage of exactly that. My approach, H, has always been take care of people, take care
Yeah,
of people, take care of people, they'll take care of you. And so my appreciation for central service technicians, central service professionals is a daily thing. The way I talk to them, the way
right.
I listen to them. When they come to me and they need some time off, the way I try to accommodate them each and every time. I think it's a signal of respect to them. And again, taking advantage of CS Week is critically important. Do something nice. Invite, the CEO down, the COO down. Do this way ahead of time because you guys know what their schedules can be like. They need to get into the department and see people. It is often an eye-opening experience for them. They need to shake folks' hands and thank them for all of the hard work that they do.
Absolutely. And again, this is a perfect time to bring it up because I know that right now managers aren't even thinking about it, but so I looked at the article, and one of the things that they say is that the managers who haven't already begun their sterile processing week planning definitely have time to put in some creative, thoughtful processes to get this week celebrated, to have a successful event in order to honor their team and to get other disciplines involved, and get the operating room involved, get the infection prevention involved in recognizing and letting people know how important sterile processing truly is. And as you said, some of the events, like you said, start planning it now to have perhaps, hopefully, I know the OR can't stop their work. They have to, do their job, but perhaps maybe one day slow down the surgery schedule that allows sterile processing to to have an open house so that people can come in, take a tour of the department, and find out what it is that we do. And the reason being is that I think that oftentimes they really don't know that sterile processing professionals, we end up remaining the unsung heroes, primarily because of the healthcare discipline's lack of understanding of what it is sterile processing entails and how those challenging, things that we do on a day-to-day basis, how it affects their departments. I don't think they're really focused on that. But you know what? Go into a little bit more detail, Pernell. I understand because I remember working with you. And I remember us talking one time, it's not just the daily recognition and stuff like that. I know that staff members have come to you with regards to adjusting their schedule, and go into a little bit detail on how you would work with people's schedules, whether they had educational opportunities coming up. And
Yeah, my sort of motto when it comes to staff has always been people first. Give the people the tools that they need to do their jobs effectively. Give them the training that they require to do the job effectively. Give them the recognition that they deserve for all of the hard work that they put in. That's an investment in people. And so whenever anybody approached me when I was a manager or approached one of my lead technicians, I was very clear. Work with them to achieve whatever aims or goals they're trying to achieve. Bottom line. If we can't do it, we can't do it. The business comes first. But we will work with you to get you whatever time off you need, to get you whatever educational opportunity it is that you're after. The goal is, taking care of people first. And I've always been rewarded by taking that approach. They deserve it.
And I was just thinking as you were saying that, I think when rewarding your employees in such a way as like working with their schedules and such, and they see that you're willing to work with them, I think it kind of goes into, how do I say it, better communication within the department, because, the staff, I think if they know that they feel appreciated, that their manager's willing to work with them, then they're more willing to speak up when, with because they feel appreciated. They feel empowered, I guess, to speak up and help to improve things within the department. And going back to the upcoming CS week, I think it's why it's so important to again have a tour, have an open house, to allow the customers to come in and see what it is that we do. Because to me, again, goes back to, as I was saying, about better communication within the department. Well, I think it stages an opportunity for better interdisciplinary communication and teamwork when everybody knows what it is that we do. And I think it's really cool. So,
yeah, I think, Harry, you're right on. Get people into decon, get them in PPE, get them on that elevator. Get them up in that room once that room is closing and those instruments being prepared to be sent down to the decontamination area. Have them follow those instruments. Have them follow those instruments and see what it takes to turn those things around. You have to get people into the department Again, they have to see your people at work and see how complex the operation is. A lot of them have no clue. And it is your responsibility as an advocate for your folks, for your people, for your department. Um, it's your responsibility to spread the word about what they do, how hard they work. You got to build that foundation. Um, I agree with the tour, Harry. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, and speaking of advocates, again, I've been at hospitals where the communication again is not that good, and
Mhm.
one of the things I know the department that can definitely be an advocate for us is infection prevention. So at this time, I would tell the manager, if you don't have a good relationship with your IP director, reach out to them already and start developing that communication with them, because once they really understand that sterile processing is all about infection prevention, then you're really going to get a lot of support. Again, coming up prior to the official week of CS Week, I think the managers should consider setting up a meeting with their IP directors in order to first discuss the challenges, the successes, what goals you have for the department, then be able to work collaboratively, with the IP department in order to improve operations and such like that. So it's not just that during CS week that you need to let people know. That, of course, is the week where we can really open up our doors and really try to get the word out. But it really needs to start long before then.
Yeah, building a relationship with infection prevention and those folks is critical to us being successful in central service. I've always had good relationships with IP directors, managers, so on and so forth. I've even invited them, and when we go out and we consult, oftentimes there's not a relationship between these two departments, or there's a relationship that's not really one based on trust.
Yeah.
So I think, not being afraid to get outside of your box, engage with those IP professionals. I've often had the IP professionals come into the department and be a part of our weekly audits or monthly audits. I think it's really good for them and really good for CS. That's a partnership that I think is critical.
Yeah, I agree, definitely. You know what? I was just thinking, I don't know what your experience is, Mr. P, but how many hospitals have you worked at that have some type of internal newsletter, something that they release via email to the staff? Have you ever worked at any facilities that have something like that?
I would say all of them now.
Okay.
Back in the day, there were maybe one or two. But HR departments are really savvy, and they understand that communicating with folks and making it somewhat personal is the way to go. So I think most hospitals online or on their website have some kind of a newsletter that addresses staff issues. And I think I know where you're going with this. It's a good place to get information in there about your department, about CS week coming up,
Mm-hmm.
about what the department is involved in, about what it is you do. Some people just think, they wash, they clean instruments. That's
Yeah.
certainly a part of it, but that's a very small part of what we do. So, any means of communication that you can use to get the word out about your department, about its successes, like
Yeah.
you mentioned, about milestones that you've hit. It's important to get that out there and to communicate that.
Yeah, I mean, I know that some facilities, or if not all nowadays, they're more tech savvy. Again,
Mhm.
going back to the facilities newsletters, this is an opportunity to be able to share information about the impressive uh, SPD related statistics that show, let's say, low error rates. That
Mhm.
they at one point they had, let's say, a 5% error rate, and now 2 or 1% or less.
Mhm.
Uh, be able to advertise and get the word out about how many numbers of sets that they've been able to process during the year so far, and what have they done to curtail, let's say, immediate use steam sterilization? You know, any additional items where they can promote the merits of the department. Be able to also talk about the importance of certification and ongoing education that is performed within the department. I think these are avenues that people can take and go. Uh, Again, it's not that manager has to write an article every month. Matter of fact, I'm sure if you reach out to your staff members and ask for volunteers, I'm sure some of them would love to be able to write an article, a short blurb or something like that, to be able to talk about what it is that we do. So, bottom line is, we have, it's kind of like here being in social media, doing a podcast or something like that. You've got to be out there on a regular basis and let people know what's going on. And I just the article again that I came across, and before the end of the show, I will be sure to put up at least uh, the actual page that I found it. But again, this was an Infection Control Today, written by Julie Williamson, and it was entitled was "Celebrate the Critical Role of Sterile Processing Profession in Infection Prevention." And I just we just, again, going back to these articles, have your staff get involved. Uh, I know through years, I've been in this field as long as you have, Mr. P, and I know that I've come across coworkers that have a literary uh, presence. They have the ability to write, and people
Mhm.
don't really know that. And we got to get the word out. So one other thing I wanted to bring up, I know that oftentimes, again, going back to, I love the fact that you said that, you do it, try to recognize them on a daily basis. And again, I've worked with you. I've seen you go out there and somebody does a fantastic job. They prevent a near miss, incident, and you recognize them on the spot. But again, CS Week is a perfect time to be able to recognize the entire department all at once and during that week. But one of the concerns that comes up, and I think where managers, allow this week to fall through the cracks, is because of the budget. They let the budget derail the plans.
Mhm. Yeah. You know what? Planning is critically important. CS Week has been around now for some time. So any engaged manager or director out there needs to make it that recognition, that week, doing something for the staff, getting folks into the department. That needs to be a priority. It is a critical priority. We have to take care of folks. They have to be acknowledged. None of this fake ice cream, cake parties. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that,
Yeah.
but take advantage of these 5 days to really highlight and spotlight your department and what it does. Invite the urology clinic manager over. Have her talk about the scopes that you prepare for them and how you keep them on schedule by making sure they have what it is they need. Invite the wound care manager down, the x-ray folks, have them come down. But do this ahead of time so that there are no issues with scheduling conflicts and that kind of thing.
Right.
I've always made it a priority and try to get on things ahead of time. And I've always had, like you, Mr. H, wonderful staff, leads, supervisors, etc., that have helped me out with this in the past. If it's important to me, if I make it a priority, then they will too.
Yeah, I think as you're talking about X-ray department and urology and or even the C-suites, I think during, when these and it's not just it doesn't have to happen necessarily just during CS week. Throughout the year, if you get them involved coming in through the department, honestly, I like you said about, pizza's nice, ice cream's nice, but I think some really heartfelt words of encouragement and appreciation go a lot further than saying, here's a slice of pizza. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Having that COO or director of surgery go through some numbers. We increased our lap choles 30% from last year, and you guys have kept up with it. We've only added 2 additional trays. I don't know how you do it. That kind of stuff that the staff can relate to. It's relatable. So when you have these conversations with C-suite folks or with folks with big titles, sit down and talk to them about what the staff would want to hear, what they would be engaged with. And oftentimes acknowledging changes to the schedule, doing more cases. You brought a new doctor in last year and he's really happy with his instruments and that sort of thing. That's the stuff that really acknowledges the staff. Give them pizza and ice cream after that, but focus in on their work and their part in the big picture.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what? We're coming up towards the end of our show because we like to keep it around 30 minutes or so. One last thing. I know we've been kind of talking in this episode to managers, to leaders, and stuff like that. But there is a part of the article, and I actually got it, and I want to go ahead and share it with everybody. This is, to you technicians out there. So perhaps you're feeling forgotten. So if that's the case, follow these tips. It says that technicians who work in the sterile processing department but haven't heard from their managers about sterile processing week and how we will celebrate should take matters into their own hands. Remind the manager that sterile processing week is just around the corner and that the team would like to be recognized. Share some of the team's ideas and ask the manager whether they can set aside some time to discuss sterile processing week further. Due to their day-to-day responsibilities, managers may be unaware that the week is on the horizon. So a gentle nudge and sharing of ideas can help put successful plans into motion. And, folks, I know we realize that, our expectation is that the manager should be thinking about this at all times. But, I don't want to just be sounding like, hey, we're tearing down managers in the fact that, hey, you're not remembering people. And I know we're trying to remind them to remember CS week. But again, it's a two-way street, folks. So us technicians out there should be going to our managers and reminding them now to start preparing. And again, it's not a matter of just money. It's not a matter of purchasing pizza or sandwiches or however it is you want to celebrate. I think a really nice cake, trust me, just having a cake that says Happy CS Week is suffice enough if there's proper planning around it. And again, going back to inviting outside department managers and staff members, not just the managers from these departments. How about the technicians from these other departments to come through and get a tour? Again, an open house of sterile processing. So technicians, remember to reach out to your managers as well.
I think that's a great idea. And the fact that we're encouraging technicians to remind their managers or directors, yeah, you have to be engaged. And as a professional, you should want to be recognized. And when people aren't on top of their game, it's okay to nudge them just a bit. We all have a lot of stuff going on. I get it. But again, managers, directors, administration should have. They certainly have Nurses Week on their calendar. There's no question about that.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So, as a department manager, as a department director, again, it is up to you to advocate for your folks. Plan something that has the technicians at the center of that week. You can't go wrong with that.
You know what? And I think, you know what? I think this is a perfect opportunity to just to advertise now. I'm going to just throw this on you now, Pernell, but you know what? I think we should do in the future, not today, of course, but we should invite technicians on and be able to let them share their experiences and in celebration of CS Week. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, this is partially my idea, but it's actually stemming out from an idea of what you said, Mr. P, is why don't we do something every day for CS Week and allow people to talk and get the word out and to be able to celebrate their successes. And so, folks, whether you are a technician, a supervisor, an educator, a manager, a coordinator, you're involved in sterile processing, I'm telling you right now, we're going to invite you on. I want you to reach out to us and let us know if you're interested. We'd like to hear from you.
Absolutely. I think that's a wonderful idea. And I look forward to engaging with technicians and managers out there in the field, saving lives every single day. Again, recognition is key for our folks. And Harry and I are going to do our part to recognize the tremendous folks that are out there doing this critically important job day in and day out.
Absolutely. And with that, folks, just reminds me of one last question, Pernell. Any last words?
We'll be back.